Welcome to the Heart of the Shaman podcast. This is episode 11, which we're calling it Vibe with the Times and Sharing Our Light. This is Pavan, and I'm here with Betty G.
Morning.
And yes, good morning, Betty. Um, I So the first thing that we wanted to delve into, well, first I'll say this is an evolving conversation. One of my clients a week ago said she felt like it's kind of like we're writing a book with each episode. And I thought that that was interesting because there are definitely core topics and themes that we keep coming back to. And there are usually some new aspects based on the current time that we're in. So that has just come into my awareness as well. This piece of vibe with the times and then sharing our light. We are going to connect with some things that we've already discussed in terms of awareness of our own energy and energy field, taking care of ourselves, and just different things that are very important for the times. But we're going to get a little more specific. We're going to touch on what this really means besides just raising our vibrations, as far as having our energy be in balance for the times we're in and for ourselves. And then the shining our light piece is going to be fun as well. So, I guess I'll jump right into Betty and I were discussing yesterday high vibration, raising your frequency, different terms that you will hear in the new age sphere. And we have discussed, raising your vibration also and given examples of what can you do basically to get into alignment. So, when we're feeling off, whether that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever layer it's landing in for us, um, there might be some balance or alignment that we're wanting to come back to. And so when we, for example, listen to our favorite music or maybe dance or have some creative expression and have that move through us and move through our bodies. And, the shamanic piece, as we also discussed, is always coming back to nature and connecting with nature, as well as connecting with spirit. So connecting our feet to the earth, leaning against a tree, anything that really connects us to the vibration of the earth. This is going to be grounding, but again, these are things that can also raise our vibration. But getting a little bit more specific with it, we were talking about, okay, what do we need our vibration to be? And the truth is that's changing on a day-to-day basis right now, especially in these times. And it's also unique for every individual at any given time. So just like so many other things, some of which we've discussed, right? Like what diet works for you. It's just going to be, and that's an example of it's going to be different for different people, or at least some of the details will be different. And so this is similar. What is the vibration that you need in the given moment to be in alignment, which also means you're going to be more grounded in the third dimension for this transition into the fourth dimension. You're going to feel stronger in your body and more focused in your mind, and you're going to be more connected with your intuition. So, we've also talked about these times, right, being a little bit pressurized. That's a term, I guess, that I've been using to describe it with clients, but we're in a transition period in human history. And so it can cause a lot of stress for people. It can cause a lot of fear. And there's real-time things unfolding that, leads to being in these states. But again, we want to be in alignment with the frequency of love as often as possible. And we want to also be able to discern what energy is mine, what energy is more a part of the collective, the environment, what is somebody else's energy. So these are some important aspects connected to that. Betty, do you have thoughts on just kind of giving an overview? But there's a
Yeah.
lot here.
Well, one of the things that I feel people are listening, trying to be informed or current, or they might miss something or whatever. And I I would like to stress that the simpler your own life is and the routines that you have, and just staying focused on those things, like what you've mentioned about going outside or going in the water, especially bodies of water and trees and things where that energy is always going to be better for you than listening to the news or talking with people about current events and creating angst or fear around. I guarantee that if you need to know something, you will find out about it.
Right.
If you don't watch the news, somebody else will tell you about it. There's billions of people on this planet, and somebody will know what's really going on. If you look at the news, you won't sleep at night. You won't be able to reconcile everything and go to sleep with comfort with your family or with your place or whatever if you aren't peaceful and inside looking at the truth, the realness. And the world is hungry for realness right now. So you have to make your own life a routine of health and hydration and all of the things that we've already discussed in our previous podcasts, so that that is in place every day. And then when we go out, we can show up and be whoever we need to be. But getting caught up in this frenzy that we've been experiencing just lowers you to a place where every day you're going to have to be recalibrating yourself up to a different level where you don't live in fear, where you don't let the outside world in to that um, peace that you find inside. When a shaman was sitting by a fire, I guarantee he or she was not thinking about there might be a mountain lion or a tiger or a bear or something coming to eat him. He was doing what he was doing and he was focused on that. And that's kind of how we have to pull ourselves back away from it, turn the TV off. Don't listen to a conversation, just walk away. So I think that keeping our own sphere, like our aura, protected before we do anything, like especially channeling or trying to reconcile our thoughts about what we should be doing moving forward. I think less decisions, more kind of ride it out feeling, like let's just see what happens and where it takes me. Let's, kind of like vibe with the time we're talking about. Just ride it out and then see how you respond to that type of behavior. Because when you listen to other people, when you listen to politicians, when you listen to negative people, it just confuses you. So to stay focused on, taking care of yourself, I think it's the most important thing is just shut out and clear. Well, we didn't have a problem with that a minute ago, like on the podcast, we're trying to add noise and we have to shut out the noise. Maybe that's what this is the message for, because all of the periphery and all of the lies and just misdirection and fake news and all the terms that they use for it, we know the truth inside us. We know what to do. We know what's right for us. We just have to go inside and look for it. It's like going in the hall closet and digging out everything to find something, or going in the basement or the attic. And we have to go inside our ancient self and find what we need for now. It's a journey.
So the image that is coming through, that was coming through as you were speaking, is like the heart center with the toroidal energy field around it. And if anyone is not familiar with that, it sort of is like a 3D donut, this image of the energy field around the heart space. And that feels maybe even more accurate than an example that I've been using the past few weeks, which was the body as a tuning fork. But I also was like, okay, let's add this like egg or orb around the tuning fork for the example or the analogy, because as Betty is saying, there is noise that we want to shut out. And this is something that we've touched on before, but part of it is because it's so important and critical for this time. And so that to me is like our energy field, we're fortifying it, we're setting this intention. I think we've talked about you can infuse it with the energy of a crystal. That's a technique that I really love. In your third eye and your visualization so that you could feel it strengthening. But then there's also the piece of, yeah, we're naturally connected to every aspect of this experience. So the tuning fork example is like sound, vibration, all of these frequencies, they can move into our body and our system. And even if we're screening some of it out, we're human, so it's not going to be 100% a lot of the time. And then that part becomes, okay, what is this collective tone that we have or frequency that we have as an example? And, going back to the beginning, does that feel in alignment? Is it balanced? And the alignment piece is really important because from a place of alignment, we can have discernment that is connected with truth. We can navigate in a clear way. When we're not in alignment, it becomes more challenging. So these sounds, these vibrations, all the noise of the experience, we are wanting to be able to get into the heart space. So now I'm shifting to the image of, the heart with that toroidal energy field around it. It's so powerful. We drop into this space, and this is our center. This is where that alignment is. But the discernment is also, again, um, am I feeling my own feeling, or is this somebody else's feeling that I've interacted with maybe in the past couple of days? So you could have had a conversation with someone where you were feeling a lot of like compassion and empathy, and you took on some of their energy or their experience. And now you're feeling an emotion that they've been feeling about that experience, but it's actually their emotion. This energy, it does not have its origin in you. It has its origin somewhere else, but it's circulating in your field.
Right.
And so, yeah, this is an example of that is going to bring you a little bit out of alignment. And again, these times that we're in, this transition, there's different, I've heard various different people in the spiritual communities and even Christian, I mean, across the board, are giving different timelines for, okay, the next few years to 2027 or to 2030. And timelines change all the time. So it's not like an exact year or day down to the minute. There is this kind of, buffer or fluctuation period there. But generally speaking, this transition continues for, I'm going to say, at least a couple years, for a little while. So it's so important for us to know what energy is ours, to be able to release it if it's not ours, to be able to fortify our energy, to reduce what's coming into our experience that's not ours. And then from there, we can share our gifts and our light, which is, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more down the line. But this part, I think Betty's used the term mission critical in some of the past podcasts. And like this piece is mission critical because if you're experiencing burnout or stress or like anything where you're thinking, okay, maybe I have to go to the doctor for this, or maybe I have to see a therapist for this, or, and, disclaimer, I'm like, what needs to be in my disclaimer? It's, we're not medical professionals. Take this with a grain of salt. Certainly go to your doctor if your intuition is saying to. But there is also a space where if you're able to get into alignment, your intuition will tell you, hey, this energy is not yours. You can just clear it, boom, and you'll be back into a place of balance. Or, hey, this is yours, in which case, then we want to get more refined. We want to go, okay, what's the origin of it? What, like, do we need to know that? Or what layer is it in? Emotional, spiritual, physical, etc. And then we can take whatever step it is to address that. So, of course, it is ours some of the time. But again, just recognizing because this period continues for a while and we don't want to be in high levels of stress and we don't want to be in high levels of fear. Yeah, we can feel that for a short period, it's the human experience, but we want to be able to come back to, I feel optimistic and hopeful and grounded in the 3D and positive and I feel like myself. What does it feel like to feel like myself? Do I even know that? And then from there, again, we get to share our light, which basically is a part of that love spectrum. That's like that high vibration frequency. And this feels like not just the antidote for the times, but these energies that we are able to embrace when we are in a space of balance. This is what lifts humanity up. This is what allows us to, in one conversation, it could be move into the next dimension, but also to connect with possibilities and more expansion. Like there's so much possibility, but when you go into fear, that's the contraction. That's the like, there's only one outcome, or it's probably this horrible outcome, or one of three horrible outcomes, or, whatever tricks our minds start playing based on some of these energies that are not healthy for our system. So,
Well,
um,
if you were at the train station or the airport and there's 200 people walking down to the planes, you don't run and pick up everybody's luggage and carry it for them. I mean, everybody has their own thing to take and they have
yes,
their own path to walk, and
yes.
you carry your stuff. So it's, an analogy, but I think it would make it clear. You want to be a magnet for the right things. It's like when you wear black, you pick up every piece of lint that is ever known to man. It's on your black outfit. It's just inevitable, right? That's not okay if you want that outfit to look sharp and whatever. You're going to be constantly trying to get rid of all the stuff that you attracted. The black magnetic attracted that lint. So if you compare that to things that we pick up as empaths, we have to say, I cannot carry this for this person. I don't, that is not my thing. And one of the ways that I think we want to point out ways to help people, you can start your day by saying, Great Spirit, or whatever you believe in. You can term it however you like. I use Great Spirit. Um, shine light on my path today and show me where I am needed. Keep me strong, keep me safe, guide me so that I can be of service to the light. And then you know that you're okay. You seal that off, and that's just makes you magnetic for the right things, but it protects you from the negative. Because if you listen to your inner guidance and your own navigational system, you can usually, if you cut out the outside noise, you can usually come to a point where you know what to do, you know what you should do, or you feel more comfortable with your decision. And I just think that a lot of it is prayer, and whatever you want to call it, meditation, prayer, asking for something, for guidance and for clarity. And then when you start your day, you don't have to do as much discerning. You might have to make a few decisions, but there's going to be a little more light on your path. And as long as you're going forward, as long as you're moving through whatever situation or whatever, you will look back and say, okay, well, that I could have done this differently, or we're all learning how to navigate these kind of things. But if you show up protected and ready to take in the good, then you'll know who to talk to, you'll know who to walk away from, you'll know what to look at. When I see in readings, when I see a person's path, I see like a hallway. And this has been consistent throughout my life. There are doors that are shut. There are doors that are wide open. There are doors on both sides of the hall and at the end of the hall. And it's a person's pathway. It's their life. And sometimes I say, there's a door there, open it and look in. If there's something you need to collect from that room or go in that room and experience, then you do that. Other times, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm just going to go to the next door, or maybe it's on the other side of the hall. But these are all opportunities as we come to those doors. And you get better at learning what is inside there that you need to integrate or pass by. So you just have to kind of wait until they come to you or you come to them. So if you're walking down a hall and there's a door, let's see what's in here. That's the human nature, the curiosity that we have. But to find something for ourselves in that space. And if we just don't walk around in like ants that have had water thrown on them, if we just don't walk around looking up and not knowing what we're doing, protect yourself, wear crystals, say things, to give you a sense of, I guess, autonomy, that you are sovereign, that
Yes.
you're singular, you're free, you do what you want to do, you do what you need to do, and not go with like what masses do. You don't follow the mass. They might be going over a cliff and you run along behind the mass and you're like, I'm going where these guys are going. Yeah, you might just go over the cliff, right? Well, that was an experience. That was a learning, right? Don't just follow everybody and do everything that everybody says. So when you listen to things, you have to have a point where you just cut it off. You don't let every single thing that people are thinking come into your space.
Right.
So I think, good messages will come through, but there can also be bad things. So just protecting yourself, starting out hydrated, starting out with a good, safe feeling that you're going to accomplish what you're setting out to do, and having a sense of, I'm driving my boat, I'm the one who's got the wheel. I'm not influenced by masses. I'm not influenced by others, deeply. I listen to them. And if there's something I want to learn from them or need to know, I'll sort that out. But I think that people they're at a place where they don't know what to do. So sometimes people just do something.
Right.
And my knowledge and my experience, I think sometimes doing nothing is better. Just letting things come to us and looking at them, as things go along, rather than trying to make a decision with not enough information or because you're pressured into it by society or whatever. Just look at things honestly and see, do I need to do something about this? And if not, just let it go. People are carrying around so much guilt and so many things that they want to change, but they're expecting somebody else to do it. We have to do what we can do individually on right inside here on a basis of what we know and what we're learning. And somebody else is not going to do it for us. We wait for people to come to the right conclusion, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But I feel like just being, I guess, fierce or fearless or just going into it, um, not blindly educated, but going into it, head first, just say, keep me safe, keep me strong. I'm going into this situation. Raise your vibration, ground yourself, and have a routine that you do all the time. Have something that you can go to that makes you feel centered. Because otherwise, it's like you're holding on to a hot air balloon, and you're hanging on to the basket and it's going to leave the ground. And you probably want to be in the basket or on the ground. You probably don't want to be hanging on to the side of it, half ready, like showing
Yeah.
up late and jumping on the side. I mean, it's a crazy scene, but it tells what I'm talking about because you need to be prepared for anything, but not afraid of anything.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and these images are great examples. Like, we don't want to just follow a group and run off the edge of the cliff or be hanging on to the edge of the air balloon, right? And I think, like, part of really what you're saying too is being very, on the one hand, prepared, but also intentional and
Yeah.
knowing that you have choice. So, from a shamanic perspective also, right? Like, we're honoring all the communities. So we can honor and respect the opinions of others or the wisdom that comes through, whether it be from spirit or nature or someone sharing something with us. But there's a space where we can really respect and honor that, but it's also coming through our own tuning fork and discernment, and then we're finding our truth. So, yeah, there's times where we just kind of have had enough of listening to the thing, or it's about shutting everything out and going into these deeper meditative spaces. But also, it's coming back to I know that I'm empowered. I know that I can find the truth, I can discern the truth, I can be in alignment, and then I make the choice from there. Even if you are taking in, let's say, I don't know why medical examples keep coming to me. Maybe it's I'm at a holistic medical center where where I do my work, but you know, the information from a doctor, right? Like, it's you are going to take that in a respectful way, honoring, the teachings and the learning and the expertise and the years of them doing what they're doing, and the knowledge that you perhaps don't have yourself, etc. And you're going to take in whatever they're saying. And then you also have your intuition. You bring it into the heart space, and then you know what step to take based on that information. So it's the same with like a teacher or a mentor. There is information for us to learn. There's, through these other aspects of our experience, the other communities, as the information comes through, that's the learning and that's the expansion of our experience. So we can take some of it, but we choose what we take and what we leave, and what expands our vision and our view and our understanding, and what is not in that energy. And I think that we've also talked about, the body as a tuning fork in a more physical way. It can be very simple. Like, when information comes to you, do you feel contracted in the body? There's a space where you can feel this doesn't feel good. Usually there's a tightening somewhere. And the other side of that, where you're in this expanded, space, is the information comes to you and you feel like, okay, wow, yeah, I really can feel the truth of that in my heart space, or I really feel that there is more possibility based on taking this in, even if we don't know what the details are, of those possibilities. So that is a really simple, like, okay, I feel more expanded. I feel like this resonates with love, or, oh, I feel contracted. Like, I don't know about that. That's one way to kind of assess as
We
well.
always talk about, the male and the feminine divine and the feminine and the masculine divine when it's out of balance the way that it is at this part of time, as we
Right.
call it. When you don't have balance in the left and the right brain, and the creative part is overstimulated, or the left brain is thinking too much and getting too processing too much data. When we put this information that's coming at us in our brain, it may not be balanced enough in our human incarnation, in this being that we're in. We need to ask our higher self. We need to go to the place where we want for that part of us, or to tell us what's right. It's always taking everything in and listening and guiding us and helping us. And if we ask, say, this is just too much chaos, there's too much data, I can't process it. My brain's going crazy. My creative side is shut down. People have all these issues. You have to ask your higher self. You have to say, what is the right path? Is it this or that? The first thing you hear is the answer. You don't process it anymore. You don't drop down into the brain and go, let me think about that for 3 days. You
Yes.
accept that your higher self knows what's best for you and will guide you. We don't have to put that on ourselves. We can ask our spirit, ask our soul, ask our higher self, because it's always going to do what's right for us. It's just
And
going to,
this is another like heart of the shaman core piece
yeah,
that,
yeah,
we go over um, in different episodes quite a bit. It's like, okay, we're talking about energy and we
that's
are
right.
energy and our whole environment is energy. And so how do we interpret it? How do we discern it? How do we fortify from, certain other energies in our experience, manage it, run it, release it? These are things that shamanic cultures have done since the beginning of time, and animals in nature do it as well. And part of it is just that's how we operate as physical beings. So if we're going to survive, we want to be able to recognize energy and kind of do all of these things. And subtle energy is a big piece of this. So some things in our 3D experience, a lot of it actually is pretty loud, and we're oriented towards what is in the physical. Um, but some of the deeper truths we also know intellectually, but it's a little bit hard to, ground them in our day to day, right? So this has to do with like, okay, and this has come up before too. Like I'm in a physical body, but I'm all energy. I'm more space than anything. I'm not even really physical. Um, Something that's coming up is, and Betty, you mentioned him yesterday, but Bruce Lipton. So he has a book called The Biology of Belief. And if you're kind of curious about the energetic nature of our beings, or even like more the science piece related to this, that is a really good book. But also, you even can just skip to like the epilogue at the end, and he has some really good ways of explaining our holographic nature. So we're not going to get into this in detail here, but some of the more trippy things that you may have heard about in terms of like parallel universes or other dimensions that we might operate in or move in, or other energies that come from these other dimensions, all of that, that's really connected to quantum physics, to energetics, and again, like that end of his book has some pretty solid explanations. That's kind of like beyond our scope for the day, but I'm just bringing that in because again, this is something we connect on a lot, and I know from my own experience, right? It's like in the day to day, we're oriented towards the 3D and like what is most dense in our experience, but the truth and the reality goes so far beyond that. And our intuition is an example of connecting with subtle energies that are related to other layers of our being that we can't see necessarily, but we can feel them. And again, like these other dimensions and all of these other things. So
Well, and
if,
these have been scientifically, you know, um,
yes,
quantum physics and the actual, you always go to the science. Everybody always, wants to believe the scientists. The artists and the scientists are going to save the world. Simple.
yeah,
So if you're one or the other, it's either the art of science or the science of art and the expression of it. We have clues everywhere,
right.
planet. And if we are looking inside instead of outside at everything, we take the clue and then we search for what we remember, what we've always known. This is just kind of like, we have a body ready. The spirit says, oh, well, maybe I want to go down to earth. well, we got a body ready, and you're going to go to have an experience like Avatar. You're going to be on this planet. You've got to look for this, and you've got to look for that. We're prepared when we come here. It's just getting through it and recognizing and remembering the things that we need to remember that we already know. Most people are looking for knowledge and they use that left brain thing of learn, 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 and processing it, coming to conclusions and mathematically figuring it out. The quantum thing is so beautiful and it is so understandable if you really get it. Or just one day it'll click and you'll get it. That there there are different dimensions and things are happening in those dimensions just like they're happening here. This one is more dense. It's more, there's a lot more suffering, there's a lot
Yeah.
more people struggling and that kind of thing. But again, if you have a routine and you keep your body healthy and you listen to your higher self, you will know what you're supposed to do while you're here instead of just walking around in a wonderland, not knowing what
Right.
your part is.
And we never have to ask ourselves, like, am I paying attention to the 3D, right? And by that, I just mean, like, yeah, the densest parts of our reality, because it's like that's the program. Yeah, we're paying attention to
That's
like
right.
our body, other bodies in the space, like the room we're in, what we can see with our eyes. That's the
All of our
program.
senses. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the part that sometimes we remind ourselves a little bit, and again, with the practices that Betty's talking about, and especially like a daily spiritual practice and meditation over time, you need to remind yourself less. But am I paying attention to like what's beyond what I can see with my eyes? Am I paying attention to the subtle energies, what I can feel, and all of that. And again, it's like we kind of have to reprogram ourselves in some ways to be oriented to have awareness of all of that. But
Well, we're being programmed. I mean, we're being
yes.
recalibrated. The planet is doing that.
Hmm.
Anything on the planet or in the planet or around the planet right now is going to take the same hit that the planet takes. And it's going to be cosmic. It's going to be something where our bodies have to recalibrate. And I've been talking about this for 4 years in readings. We are not ill. We're not broken. We're not faulty, like when you order something and it doesn't work. We everything is okay. It's just the recognition of this matching of energies from
Hmm.
what the planet raises its vibration to and what the inhabitants of the planet have to raise theirs to. The
So we're
animals, the
not.
plants, everything.
Yeah, we're not always trying to be like, let me go to the highest vibration or frequency. And when we say high, like I'm saying kind of in quotes, but if we're literally measuring some of those higher frequencies, it gets into maybe like the angelic realm or the cosmic realm or the crystal realm. And if you hear it in a crystal tone, like a crystal bowl, for example, if it's quote higher in measurement, it's going to sound like maybe like the letter E, like E, or like even higher. And sometimes we want to go to those spaces. But again, like today, the vibe with the times piece is what do you need today and in this moment? Like, we don't all need to be in those frequencies all the time. We may need them to go into a meditation or to do a certain thing or to get into a certain space. But perhaps you need like a real low, Tibetan bowl tone or a drum, or, I'm using sound as an example just because that's one of my easier examples. But, they're not low as in like, bad or negative, or they're going to bring you down or make you sad or something, they're actually just a different space on the spectrum that can bring you into balance based on, again, where your energy is and what energies you're taking in. So, again, like these lower tones are often grounding us, and we all really need to be solidly grounded pretty much every day. I won't say all the time in every moment, because again, maybe you're having a particular more isolated experience where you can be less grounded. Uh, but generally speaking, that's a real focal point. So it's kind of like feeling into what do I need to create this balance and just recognizing it's not necessarily high, like but it's
Yeah.
like, do I need something grounding? Do I need something that lifts my spirits? Do I need something that makes me hopeful? Um, I don't know, those sorts of, maybe those sorts of examples give a little bit of
But
a,
you know what makes you feel good. I mean, everybody has
yes,
their happy place. Everybody has
yes.
an environment or a food or some experience or a person or, something that makes them feel their optimum feeling as a human. They
Hmm.
feel, and that's what Bruce Lipton touches on, like the honeymoon effect. You go on
Yeah,
a honeymoon and every day you're happy and you're singing and you're making love and you're eating delicious food and everything. And then you come back 2 weeks later and you got to go back to work and you got to, the honeymoon's over and everything changes. Your whole chemistry changes, your whole system changes because you're not in that place of the honeymoon effect where you're in love and you're feeling that vibration every day, every moment of every day. And why can't we do that? Why do we shift back when we come back from the honeymoon? Or that state that we're talking about where you're happy and you're blissful and you're joyful. Why do we come back? Why do we
right.
we have to stay in this dimension because it's where we exist. So
Hmm.
we have to have our feet on this ground, on the earth.
So
But
perhaps humanity collectively is moving towards a space of more love
yes,
where there will be less suffering and less of, I'm for lack of another way, just going to say like the darker energies. But again, it's a transition and a spectrum that we are in. It's not like hopping from one to the other. So yeah, we need to come back to it until every human on the planet transcends that is kind of how I feel it vibrationally. So like until humanity as a collective transcends the darker energies, which could be a larger conversation. But anything that's in the realm of fear, suffering, etc. This is still what we come back to for the learning and the expansion and the experience. But shifting gears to the second portion of what we're touching on, which is also really exciting to me, is the part about shining our light. And this is also another way of seeing it or looking at it is really offering our unique gifts and what we bring to the table to this whole experience while we're here, just offering it to others, offering it on the planet. And so we've been talking about my favorite word to use just because it feels like it describes it the best, getting into alignment, all those, examples that we just kind of went through. When you're in alignment, you can offer your light. It's like the light of humanity as a collective also grows. And so that's moving us in this direction. So we want to be able to offer that. And what does that look like? Like we do have specific talents and gifts, but we can just be who we are when we're in alignment and organically, without needing to think about it, those talents and gifts come through. Um, and another thing that again is like sort of a widely, I would say, accepted in the spiritual realm thing that's happening right now is people are waking up. So this is sort of like spiritually they're waking up in larger numbers and it's accelerated. There's a lot of things that are accelerated, so at a faster pace. Um, and I know that we both see this in this work also. I mean, even 5 or 10 years ago, those who were receptive to some of what I do, who knew about it, who were looking for it just was not as many people. And year by year by year, it has become more sought after and there's more interest, and people are having their own experiences that are like, for example, in the work that I do and for Betty as well, intuition is something that's like at the forefront. We utilize that and we have certain gifts that are connected with that. And so this accelerated, awakening is people connecting more with their own intuition. And then maybe you have questions about how to navigate that, or you want to experience it more or in a bigger way, or, so we're really seeing this, and this is like very, very exciting to me. And so for me, I feel like part of it is, yeah, let's get into that space and let's offer our light and our gifts. Um, and an example of this that came up to just touch on today and share, and again, without going too far down like a rabbit hole with it, this could be a whole nother, podcast, and maybe we will do that at some point, but is channeling. Um, and the reason that's the example is because in my own spiritual practice, and Betty can speak to this about hers as well, but definitely she's shared some of her pretty cool recent experiences with me. That is something that I have done for a long time. So we will just briefly touch on like what is channeling and, some of what you can channel. But also that has expanded during this period for both of us quite a bit, and it's also accelerated. So it feels clear that okay, like we want to be connected to this momentum, and we also want to be like here for okay, if this is what I'm quote supposed to do, right? Or if this is what it creator and spirit is showing me, let me be in a place where I have the capacity to do it and I can kind of move with this accelerated energy. And so maybe that looks like channeling other energies or in different ways, or having it be an example more for other people, which again, you see that in the broader collective. There's a lot of different people channeling different things. And it's basically, or I shouldn't say things, but different energies. And it's kind of like, okay, what sort of healing or wisdom and information can come through these channels that is going to help us all? So that piece is exciting. And so, I guess, real briefly, okay, what is channeling? This is being able to get into a clear, intuitive space where you're essentially on a different channel and you're bringing other energies through you. So, for me, I know I'll often be channeling my higher self, which I'm less attuned to if I'm not on that channel in a certain space. Also my guides, shamanic guides. And then in addition to that, it can be ancestors and people who have crossed over. Um, and this is not something that I do currently. Perhaps it's on the table, but it also is something you will see, channeling groups and collective energies. And typically that is something that requires a lot of fortitude in the physical body and guidance to be able to do that in a healthy way. Um, but again, this is an extension of our antenna and our intuition. Um, I don't know, Betty, if you want to talk about the recent experience with star magic and share a little bit about that, or your own experience with channeling, which has been historically, I would say, more far-reaching than mine. But also today and now, I just get a lot of messages to channel more and to offer this in different ways to people. So it's pretty exciting.
I mean, you when you open yourself up to good things, you have to be careful not to let negative things in your space. But when you're looking for knowledge or when you're asking to communicate with another dimension or someone who's crossed over or whatever, you have to fill yourself with light. You have to be um, in that vibration where it's like tuning a radio. It's static and it's not clear, and then it gets to the place where it's aligned and it's music, right? So you have to do some things, I think. Physically, you have to be healthy. You have to keep yourself in a place where you don't let all the negative things influence you. And, you might listen to it, but you have to discard it. You have to just discount it. You have to let it go and have a clear channel. It's like with Reiki, when we learn um, how to deliver the energy of Reiki, we are the vessel it's coming through. And it has to be a clear, clean vessel. It's like a tube that something comes through. You can't have a clog in the tube. You have to have a clear a channel or a passageway. And the same is with energy. You have to have a clear path for it to come. So keeping your life simple and doing things of joy and happiness and with animals and with plants and getting in touch with nature, you bring your energy up to a place where you are full of light. So then when you ask for messages to come through, you ask for all the, we'll say a prayer. When we used to teach, we'd say, all beings of love and light, ascended masters, anyone who wants to help us, basically,
Yeah.
our loved ones, our friends, anybody who's crossed over, give us more information from your perspective. And then you open that. It's like the post office, when they're closed, you go there and you go, oh, I can't send my letter right now. I wanted to go, it's like you have to go when it's open, right?
Yes.
Or the letter's not going to go anywhere that day. So that's just a crude example, but I'm saying if you are not um, of the light and you are not full of light, you can't share it. So, and you can't get messages from other dimensions or whatever unless it's a matching frequency. And it's not so much levels like one, two, three up like this. It's more dimensional where you like pass, if you were pulling a curtain back to walk into a room, or like your shower curtain when you pull it back to go into the shower, you're pulling back a veil or a sheet or something that cloaks the energy that you're looking for. So then when you step into that, you pull it into yourself and you're able to share it with others. And it's kind of I, I want to say it's mechanical. It sort of starts to happen automatically when you do it all the time. It isn't something you have to consciously bring. It's just
Yeah.
your being does that after you do it for a while. You just automatically calibrate to a level where things are going to come through. When you use the tuning forks and the bowls and the drums and music and sound, that puts you in a place where you're more receptive and you're able to give more in that way. I'm not sure exactly how that works or why that works, but it happens for me kind of automatically. Like when I get to a certain depth with a sound, the energy and the people talking to me and the guides and everything, it's like there was a room full of people around me and I'm getting all this information. It you go deeper and you just know that you're getting a wealth of information that you want to integrate into your being. So whoever's doing that or whoever's talking, we're absorbing it in a quantum way. It's not like we're thinking every single thing. It's just like a download. That's what we call
Yes.
it. So being um, vigilant, being aware and taking care of your body and taking care of your environment and your relationships and loving a lot of things and a lot of people and a lot of animals and plants and sharing that joy or whatever. That's when I feel my light is brightest. And I just want to be like a beacon, I just want to share it with everybody. And, sometimes I'll talk to strangers or little kids or stop and pet somebody's dog. I have so much loving energy inside me that the light just comes out, so bringing yourself to the place where you're the happiest, where you're doing for others, where you're enjoying the act of giving, whether you ever receive anything back, just giving of yourself, giving of your time or whatever, that enhances your light so you can share it.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, it's fair to say for both of us, we're channeling most of the time, just with your example of, I have this light that is just like flowing out of me.
Mhm.
Um, And because there's been years of practice, there's an awareness of what again is coming through, like what is me, Pavan, my personality, what might be coming from somewhere else, and then I can tune into where is it coming from and get some sense of that. And then, there's more formalized settings. Maybe I'm sitting down to my morning practice, and then that is where I'll say the prayer, and I might have specific questions that day. And, so that could be, I'm going to say, like a deeper channeling. And it's the same with sessions for individuals where, yes, I'm saying the prayer, I'm setting the stage for the session. The sound is a piece, the drums, the crystal bowls. So these pieces that Betty mentioned that help you get there. And that's also this co-creative experience. This is also so the other person can get onto these channels or be open to them as well, if that's going to be relevant for them in this space. So yeah, there can be these more formalized situations, or maybe they're like contained, they're in containers, condensed. We are consciously bringing through a certain channel. I know a lot of people who channel also like the Akashic records, and there's a lot of possibilities there. But the more you practice, the more you're into this intuitive space where there's a lot of potential channels at any time.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the 5D and, or 5G or whatever, when you look at all the upgrades that we've had with the cell towers and how many people can connect without dialing long distance numbers and paying more money. And you can talk to somebody on a plane, you can talk to somebody on a ship, you can talk to them across the world or whatever. The energy that this takes for keeping every channel straight and
Yes.
keeping it
Yes.
connected. Why are we able to do this even right now? You know,
Right.
this technology is beyond, um, everything is light, everything is energy, and everything is light. And it has been that way from the beginning of what we call time. So, if you function from that place, you're going to attract that type of people in your life. You're going to attract those type of events and opportunities, and prosperity that come your way is going to be geared toward what you're doing if you keep it in this level, where you stay in the light and you share the light and you are the light, you know. But then there's so much going on where that people are bad, and you just have to say, turn it off, walk away, put music on. I like reggae music, so I'll be listening to that beat, and it just puts me in a everything's going to be all right kind of mood. Irene,
Hmm.
like the Jamaicans, it's like you have a day, you make something out of it,
Yes.
and you turn it around. You don't listen to it and sit for an hour and go, oh my God, those poor people. And oh my God, then that happened. And you're looking at this event, and it traumatizes you. What we get to see, we should turn it off. When it makes us feel uneasy or not connected or unhappy, or if you get a stomach ache or whatever, you're taking in too much of the negative. You're allowing yourself to process that, and you just have to throw light at it. Just say, I wish them well. Hope the outcome is good for them. I send them love and well-being, and let it go.
Yeah, and I've had some people this past year who have made a really positive shift in that way, who thought as healers, I'll say that it was their responsibility to like sit with some like suffering or someone else's experience in order to transmute it or shift it. And I have to say, like, we again, it goes back to we can only metabolize, we can only integrate so much. That only makes sense to a certain degree. So I really feel strongly that Betty is spot on with this, where, something comes into your awareness that is not your personal experience in that moment. And yeah, you're listening to something that happened to others that's traumatizing, or reading about it or hearing about it, whatever. Just briefly, okay, I have the awareness of this, sending the light, sending the love, having that really positive intention, and then shifting from it. So this is a different form of like changing the channel, I guess, but like changing your channel. Okay, shift. Like you said, turn on the music, reoriented your mind, your perspective, whatever it is. No, it's not. I think it was Wayne Dyer that said, no amount of your suffering is going to, make anybody else happy. I forget exactly. I'm kind of
I know what you
paraphrasing,
mean.
but
Yeah.
not in pain. Like it's not going to take away their suffering. So it's just important to recognize that, I think. And we're coming a little bit, I think, towards the end of our time, but I do want to say if anybody has questions about channeling in particular, certainly you can reach out to either of us with those questions, or, to get more information on it. It is something we can do a future podcast on, but it came to me as a great example for both of us to give, in regards to how our gifts are accelerating and expanding in this time. And I can say, like, this has been in the past, like maybe 3 to 5 years in particular, in leaps and bounds, so accelerated compared to times prior to that in my lifetime here. So it was a much more like slow learning experience. And again, it really did speed up. And so what's exciting and hopeful and uplifting about this is really happening for all of us. So if you're listening, it doesn't have to be channeling in particular, but your own gifts, your own connection to your intuition. How have you seen this accelerate or increase in the past few years? What are you noticing? Are you paying attention to some of these subtle energies in your experience? Because that can give you a clue, or that can kind of bring in extra awareness if this is something you're still maybe figuring out or discovering, or you've noticed really recently. And again, just bringing it back around to the transition that we're all in this time. What do we do to vibe with the times, to, align ourselves? If you have questions on that, you can certainly reach out to us. And then from there, again, we can just be the full expression of who we are, which is not complicated, very simple, very shamanic, and really just uplifting. And I feel like that's what we're here to do.
Well, we're superhuman. I mean, everybody is experiencing this DNA upgrade, and we are already highly evolved beings. I mean, the human body is a wonderland. It's amazing what the body can do without any intervention from any medical teams or medications or whatever, what our bodies are capable of. And we have been kind of put to sleep. We've been, I want to say like the wool has been pulled over our eyes. That's an old saying where, you think you can fool somebody and you pull their cap down over their eyes like a horse, there's no fire. We're just going to put this blinder on you. And the horse is going, what the hell?
Right.
I go through it's a fire. I can feel it. But when they can't see it and they put the blinders on them and they cover their head, then they will be able to get them out of there without them freaking out. So the reaction, we have to really be responding. And I've been talking about this for years instead of reacting. And we don't need to have somebody pull the wool over our eyes. We're waking up. We're seeing things how they really are. And this collective amnesia that everybody's had, or this being in the dark and not being aware, that is over.
Right.
People
Yeah.
are going
And
to pick it up and they're going to see, oh, and they're going to be upset that they've been had the wool pulled over their eyes. So being aware of the fact that, we can I mean, we've had a lot of help, but the planet and the people and everything are changing right now.
and there's a lot of theories as to the why here of the wool being pulled over our eyes or that collective amnesia.
Mhm.
And again, like you will find those theories in all religions and in spirituality. And like you can resonate with whatever sort of aspects of it that you want, of course. But at least in this moment, I'm feeling like, hey, the why isn't even that relevant. We can all agree that the wool has been pulled over our eyes. And with this acceleration of intuition and awakening and all of these things we've been discussing, and we're seeing it in the details in our world and in our individual experience, there's a shift and we're beginning to know more and more and become aware of more and more and be connected to more possibilities. And so it's almost to me like, okay, let's not get mired in why this is. Let's just recognize it is and kind of catalyze the positive side of things. And
Well, that's the alchemy. That's where we have to
yes,
be alchemists, and we
yes.
have to turn all of these things that were negative into positives, and we need to spread that news and talk to people and get it out there because everybody has this ability, and we feel so helpless. We're made to feel so gutless and so helpless and like, oh, they're just humans. I don't know who's pulling the strings, but oh, they're just, if you just do this, they're going to do that, and if you do this, they're going to do that. And like sheep, like how they follow the dog, or they, cattle or whatever. We are not animals like that. We are capable of thinking and processing and doing all of this on a spiritual level. It's like the body or the avatar that we're in is just a gift, like a suit to come to this space in, to be on the earth at this time. And I feel like I've lived during one of the luckiest, like lottery tickets or whatever that I hit, that I lived during the time that I've lived and the things that I've seen. And I mean, I'm anxious to see as much more of it as I can, but for your generation, what you're going to be going through and the things that are going to be available to us that have always been there. They've always been there. They're always inside us, and they've always been there. So it isn't
Yeah.
something you're going to search for somewhere else. It's, going within. And again, this shamanic thing, just being connected to the earth and respecting each other, respecting the animals and everything that we get from the earth to keep us alive and everything. Just being grateful, living in gratitude, and not, I mean, I think they say, I can't remember who said it, it might have been Jimi Hendrix, but when the love of power is replaced with the power of love, the world will be a happy place.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think I mean, yeah, that's just hitting the spot of there's so much more to be discovered. We have such a great capacity, even the physical body and the parts of the brain that maybe are not fully activated now or that we're not aware of, or, so the physical being and sort of the potential there. And yeah, like you said, with the power of love, it's like, what makes us human? What are we really wanting to like expand and catalyze and also hold on to as we move through technological advancements? And, again, won't get, off the path with that comment, but it's discernment and saying, hey, like our creativity, our imagination, the love that we have to offer, like this is really the uniqueness, the unique expression of humanity. And there's so much more that we don't even know. So let's get on that ride, let's get on the ride where we just expand that and we uncover more. And it's like will just continue to be more and more incredible.
Well, love is all we need, and
Yeah.
we can express it in little ways, in big ways, and it doesn't matter whether it's money or food or what you take to someone. If you do it with love, it's a good thing, and it goes on and it ripples. It's like the ripple, like the sound with the tuning fork, how the vibration goes through. It's going to create more love. It's going to grow, and it's going to just, maybe that's the eternal hippie in me, but I think that love is all we need, and
Yeah.
uh, love is the answer. And come on, people, you know, the songs were all about that. And if we just give that out into the spaces and into people and animals, it multiplies. It just can't do anything else. So the more love you pour on something, I always tell people, just pretend that your life is a stack of pancakes, and what's going to make it better? Syrup. Just pour the love on it, and it's going to make it better. So you just pour more love, and you just keep pouring more love on it. And I mean, it's a crazy analogy, but it always makes people smile because it's true. When you're feeling really ratty and terrible, if somebody comes on, oh, you need a hug. You need to have a hug. Do you need
Mhm.
another person? And you hug them, and then they just it takes the darkness away. It just you give yourself and your love to that person through that energy exchange. It amplifies it. And I think that that's what everybody needs to be conscious of right now. Not even talking about the negatives because um, like I quoted before, relax and enjoy the beauty that's before you, and the future will work itself out.
Yeah.
We can't singularly handle all of the problems, but there are forces at work that are the light, and the light will always win.
Yes. And it's the ultimate channel. Love is the ultimate channel. Like we
That's
didn't
right.
get into the how too much, but if I, again, in a more formalized way, I'm just like taking an exhale and bringing my consciousness and my energy into the heart space, feeling the frequency of love.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the channel.
Yeah. And on the other side, there is love. When you talk to people that have passed on, when I, channel, or, the medium work I do, that is all there is love. And it's this experience that has the emotions that are all negative, all the full spectrum of emotions. In a human body, we sign on to experience that, and controlling those emotions, there. And on the other side, it's all love. And just imagine a world here. If I mean, there was a movie years ago where everybody drank this potion or whatever, and everybody was just loving everybody else. And it was an adorable movie, because it showed what it would be like if everybody was just in that state all the time. And why
Right.
not? Why not be in that place? Why not choose love and light instead of focusing on the others, the other emotions? We have to learn how to control them, not to let us be overtaken by our emotions. But um, I just feel like we're coming to the place where the truth will be told, and we will have peace, and we will have love. And I don't think that, I mean, I hope I see that. I
Yeah.
really do. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to everyone who has joined us. I am at pavanserona.com. Betty is at wherethelightis.net. So feel free to reach out to us with questions or comments. We also both offer sessions, and we are just honored to be able to connect with you also in this way and to have this type of discussion and to be on these different channels as well. So, aho, thank you all. And Betty, if you want to lead us in
Okay.
close.
Thank you again for being with us. And we learn from you. So your comments are welcome. We would love to have you suggest topics that you'd like to know more about. So may we meet again, sit in circle, tending our hearts, cultivating our shared love and joy, supporting the ascension of our beautiful planet. Until then, our light to yours.
Our light to yours.
Aho.
Aho.